Captain Zethkar stared at the blue planet through the viewing port of his scout ship. Earth hung in the darkness like a jewel, but it was a jewel that refused to speak. "Still nothing, Captain," his communications officer reported. "No response to any of our signals." Zethkar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep confusion among his people. In his 40 years of service to the Galactic Council, he had never encountered anything like this. Every other planet they had discovered either begged for mercy or fought back with primitive weapons. Earth did neither. "Run another scan," he ordered. "Check for any signs of technology." The scanner operator worked his controls with practiced efficiency. "Captain, the readings are strange. These humans definitely have advanced technology. We can see cities, satellites, even what looks like space stations. But there's no radio chatter, no communication signals, nothing." Zethkar walked to the scanner display. The images showed a thriving civilization. Massive cities sprawled across the continents. Ships moved through the oceans. Aircraft crossed the skies, but it was all happening in complete electronic silence. "Have they seen us?" he asked. "Unknown, sir. Our long-range sensors show they have detection equipment that should be able to spot us easily, but they haven't changed their behavior at all since we arrived." The captain's tail twitched with frustration. The Galactic Council had sent him to make contact with Earth's inhabitants 50 years ago. His mission was simple: announce the Council's authority and bring these humans into line. Most species took less than a day to understand their new place in the galaxy. Earth had been ignoring them for half a century. On Earth, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Sarah Chen stood before a wall of monitors showing every alien ship in the solar system. The underground facility known as Deep Watch had been humanity's secret eye in the sky since the aliens first arrived. "How many ships today?" she asked her intelligence officer. "Same as yesterday, Admiral. 37 vessels in various positions around our solar system. They're not trying to hide." Admiral Chen nodded. The aliens had made no effort to conceal their presence. In fact, they seemed to want Earth to notice them. What they didn't know was that humanity had been watching them since day one. The first alien ship had appeared exactly 50 years, 3 months, and 12 days ago. Earth's deep space monitoring systems had detected the vessel while it was still beyond Pluto's orbit. Within hours, every government on Earth received the same emergency message. "We are not alone and they are not friendly." The decision to implement the silent protocol had been unanimous. Every radio transmitter on Earth went dark. Every satellite stopped broadcasting. Every form of electronic communication that might reach space was shut down or redirected through quantum-dampened channels that the aliens couldn't detect. To the outside galaxy, Earth had gone silent overnight, but inside the planet's protective electromagnetic shell, humanity had been busier than ever. The silent protocol wasn't just about hiding. It was about learning. Dr. James Park walked through the analysis lab where teams of scientists studied every piece of alien technology they could observe. "What do we know about their ships today?" he asked his lead researcher. "Same basic design, Dr. Park. Their hull material seems to be some kind of crystalline composite. Energy readings suggest they use fusion reactors, but not very efficient ones. Their weapons appear to be plasma-based." Dr. Park smiled grimly. "Still using fusion? We moved past that 20 years ago." The truth was that humanity's technology had advanced faster in the past 50 years than in the previous 2 centuries. When faced with an alien threat, every nation on Earth had poured resources into research and development. The best minds from every field worked together with a single goal: survive. While the aliens waited outside, humans had built underground cities, developed new materials, and created weapons that existed only in theory before the invasion threat. The silent protocol had given them time to prepare. Back on the alien scout ship, Zethkar received a message from the Council. His communication screen flickered to life, showing the stern face of Counselor Vexstar. "Captain Zethkar, report on the human situation." "Counselor, they continue to ignore all contact attempts. I've tried every standard protocol. They show no response to our presence." Vexstar's expression darkened. "This is unacceptable. No primitive world has ever ignored the Council for this long. It makes us look weak." "What are your orders, Counselor?" "Continue your mission. Send stronger signals. Make it clear that ignoring the Council has consequences." The transmission ended, leaving Zethkar staring at the dark screen. He understood the Counselor's frustration. The other Council members were beginning to ask questions. How could the mighty Galactic Council be ignored by one small planet? On Earth, Admiral Chen watched the alien communications through intercepted signals. Humanity had cracked most of the alien languages within the first decade. They knew exactly what the aliens were saying, and it wasn't good. Admiral, her aide approached with a datapad. The latest intelligence reports show increased activity in their fleet. They're getting impatient. Admiral Chen studied the reports. Alien frustration was growing, just as Earth strategists had predicted. The silent protocol wasn't just about hiding until the aliens got bored and left. It was about controlling the situation, making the aliens react to human choices instead of the other way around. Any word from the outer system projects? She asked. All construction is ahead of schedule. The asteroid belt facilities are producing ships faster than we expected. The Jupiter stations are operational. The teams on Europa and Ganymede report they're ready for the next phase. Admiral Chen allowed herself a small smile. While the aliens watched Earth and waited for a response, humanity had been building, not just on Earth but throughout the solar system. The aliens thought they were observing one planet. They had no idea they were actually surrounded. Captain Zethkar's frustration grew with each passing day. His crew was becoming restless. Other council captains sent him mocking messages about his inability to get even a simple acknowledgement from the humans. "Captain," his tactical officer called out, "I'm detecting some unusual readings from the asteroid belt." "What kind of readings?" "Hard to say, sir. There's a lot of interference. Could be natural phenomena or what? Or the humans are doing something out there." Zethkar considered this. The council had focused all their attention on Earth itself. They had assumed that any human space activity would be obvious and primitive. What if they were wrong? "Send a probe to investigate," he ordered. "Sir, that would require leaving our assigned position." "Do it anyway. I want to know what's happening in that asteroid field." The probe launched silently, heading toward the belt of space rocks between Mars and Jupiter. It would take several days to reach its destination, but Zethkar felt they might finally learn something useful about these mysterious humans. On Earth, Deep Watch detected the probe immediately. Admiral Chen received the alert within minutes. "Admiral, they're sending scouts toward the asteroid facilities." She considered her options. The probe wouldn't find anything. Human engineers had been very careful to hide their construction projects. But the fact that the aliens were finally expanding their search meant the situation was changing. Let them look, she decided. They won't find what they're not looking for. The silent protocol had worked perfectly for 50 years. Earth remained hidden while humanity prepared for what everyone knew was coming. The aliens were getting frustrated, making mistakes, showing their weaknesses. Soon, Admiral Chen knew that frustration would turn to anger. And when it did, humanity would be ready. The silent years were almost over. Counselor Vextar slammed his fist on the conference table, causing the holographic display to flicker. The council chamber fell silent as 12 species representatives watched the hegemony's most aggressive leader lose his temper. 50 years, he roared. 50 years we have waited for these humans to show proper respect. This is madness, Elder Kethmori of the Wisdom Collective spoke in her calm, measured tone. Patience, Counselor. Perhaps the humans are simply different. Different? Vextar's red eyes blazed. No species is different when faced with council authority. They all learn to obey eventually. The massive screen at the center of the chamber showed Earth floating peacefully in space. Surrounding it were dozens of council ships, maintaining their patient watch. To most observers, it looked like a standard occupation, but everyone in the room knew the truth. We look like fools, Vextar continued. Other worlds hear about Earth and wonder if the Council has lost its power. How can we claim to rule the galaxy when one primitive planet ignores us completely? Ambassador Thylek from the Trade Federation shifted uncomfortably. Perhaps we should consider alternatives. Economic pressure, limited strikes on their infrastructure. Finally, someone with sense, Vextar growled. I have been saying this for decades. Elder Kethmori's expression darkened. The collective does not support aggressive action without proper cause. The humans have committed no crimes. Their crime is disobedience, Vextar shot back. On Earth, the emergency session was taking place in the Global Defense Council headquarters. President Martinez of the Americas, Chancellor Kim of the Asian Alliance, and Prime Minister Jackson of the European Federation sat around a circular table with leaders from every major nation. The alien communications are becoming more hostile, reported General Harrison. head of Earth's unified military. Our listening posts have intercepted several council meetings. They're running out of patience. President Martinez studied the translated alien conversations on her tablet. What exactly are they saying? They're discussing direct action. Some want to start with attacks on our satellites. Others are pushing for strikes against population centers. Chancellor Kim leaned forward. How much longer can we maintain the silent protocol? Admiral Chen answered from her position at the head of the table. Our original plan called for 75 years of preparation. We're only at 50. The longer we wait, the stronger we become. But if they attack civilian targets, wait, Prime Minister Jackson began. They won't, Admiral Chen said firmly. Not yet. They're frustrated, but they're also confused. Attacking us would mean admitting they can't handle a simple contact mission. Their pride won't let them do that until they have no other choice. The truth was that Earth's leaders understood their enemy better than the aliens understood themselves. The Galactic Council ruled through fear and intimidation, but they also cared deeply about their reputation. Being ignored by Earth hurt them worse than any military defeat. Captain Zethkar received the new orders with a sinking feeling in his stomach. The Council wanted him to begin escalation protocols, a fancy term for bullying tactics designed to force responses from stubborn planets. Communications, prepare a planetary broadcast, he ordered. Full power, all frequencies. His communications officer looked nervous. Sir, what should the message say? Zethkar pulled up the Council's template for intimidation broadcasts. He had used similar messages on dozens of worlds before Earth. They always worked. People of Earth, he began recording. This is Captain Zethkar of the Galactic Council fleet. Your world has been classified as non-compliant with Council authority. You have 72 hours to establish diplomatic contact and accept Council oversight, or face the consequences. The message continued for several minutes, describing in detail what happened to worlds that refused Council rule. Zethkar had seen those consequences himself. Entire planets reduced to ash and radioactive dust. Populations enslaved or worse. When the broadcast ended, he felt sick. Earth's continued silence made him uncomfortable in ways he couldn't explain. These humans weren't acting like any other species he had encountered. On Earth, the alien broadcast was received and translated within minutes. Every world leader heard Zethkar's threats, and every military commander prepared for possible attack. But Admiral Chen remained calm. This is exactly what we expected, she told the Global Defense Council. They're following their standard intimidation playbook. Next, they'll try small attacks on our orbital infrastructure. Should we respond? Asked President Martinez. Not yet. Let them escalate according to their own timeline. Every move they make teaches us more about their capabilities in psychology. The waiting was the hardest part. For 72 hours, Earth held its breath while the aliens orbited overhead. Scientists monitored alien energy signatures. Military personnel checked and rechecked their equipment. Civilians in major cities were quietly moved to underground shelters, but Earth remained silent. When the deadline passed, Captain Zethkar felt genuine confusion. No species had ever ignored a formal Council ultimatum. He sent an emergency message to Counselor Vextar. Counselor, the humans have not responded to our deadline. I request permission to begin limited strikes. The response came back within an hour. Permission granted. Target their communication satellites. Show them we are serious. Zethkar's weapons officer powered up the ship's plasma cannons. 3 Earth satellites exploded in brief flashes of light. It was a small attack, designed to get attention rather than cause real damage. There, Zethkar said. Now they will have to respond. But hours passed and Earth remained silent. In the Deep Watch Command Center, Admiral Chen watched the satellite destruction with cold eyes. Confirmed loss of 3 communication satellites, reported her aide. All civilian satellites with no military value. They're testing us, she said, seeing if we'll break our silence for a small provocation. Admiral, those satellites cost billions to build, and we've built 100 more in the past decade that they don't know about. Let them destroy old technology while we prepare new weapons. The alien attacks continued over the following months. More satellites disappeared. A few isolated research stations went dark. Space-based telescopes were vaporized. Each attack was calculated to cause maximum frustration with minimum real damage. To the aliens, it must have seemed like Earth was the most stubborn planet in the galaxy. They had no idea that every attack was being carefully analyzed and countered. Dr. Park's research team worked around the clock studying alien weapons data from each strike. Their plasma cannons use a very specific frequency, he reported to Admiral Chen. We can build shields that will deflect that energy completely. How long until we have working prototypes? 6 months, maybe less. Admiral, their weapons technology is actually quite primitive. We've developed much better systems in our underground labs. Admiral Chen nodded. The aliens thought they were demonstrating superior firepower. In reality, they were giving Earth a free education in alien warfare. Counselor Vextar's patience finally snapped during a council meeting in the 10th month of the demonstration period. This is insane, he shouted. We have destroyed dozens of their satellites and installations. Any normal species would be begging for mercy by now. Elder Kethmori remained concerned. Perhaps we should consider that these humans are truly different. Their behavior suggests they are too stupid to understand superior force, Vextar interrupted. I am requesting permission for a major strike, something that will get their attention permanently. The chamber erupted in debate. Some council members supported stronger action. Others worried about the precedent of attacking a non-responsive world. But Vextar's frustration was shared by many. Captain Zethkar received the new orders with a heavy heart. The council wanted him to target Luna Base, Earth's oldest off-world colony. 200,000 humans lived and worked there. It would be a massacre designed to break Earth's stubborn silence once and for all. As Zethkar prepared his ship's weapons for the attack, he wondered if the humans would finally respond, or if their strange silence would continue even in the face of unthinkable loss. He was about to find out. Sarah Chen was having breakfast with her granddaughter when the emergency alert came through her personal communicator. The 7-year-old girl was telling her about a school project on marine biology, completely unaware that her grandmother was one of the most important people on Earth. Grandma, did you know that dolphins can recognize themselves in mirrors? Emma asked, showing a drawing of a dolphin, Admiral. Chen smiled and was about to respond, when the communicator buzzed with the highest priority alert. The signal that meant Earth's 50-year peace was about to end. That's wonderful. Sweetheart, she said, kissing Emma's forehead. Grandma has to go to work now. Tell your mother I'll call later. 20 minutes later. Admiral Chen stood in the Deep Watch Command Center as her staff delivered the worst news in 50 years. Admiral, we've intercepted Council communications authorizing a major strike, reported Commander Hayes. Target is Luna Base. The command center fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. Luna Base wasn't just Earth's oldest space colony. It was home to 200,000 civilians. Families, researchers, miners, engineers, people who had never fired a shot in anger. When? Admiral Chen asked, her voice steady despite the storm in her chest. Council ships are moving into position now. Estimated time to strike, 6 hours. Admiral Chen looked at the main display showing Luna Base in all its peaceful glory. The lunar colony sprawled across 3 massive craters, connected by transparent tunnels that gleamed in Earth's reflected light. Children played in low-gravity parks while their parents worked in research labs and mining facilities. In 6 hours, it would all be radioactive dust. Admiral, another officer spoke up. We could warn them. Get some people to the emergency shelters. Warning them would break the silent protocol, Admiral Chen replied. Any transmission to Luna Base would reveal that we've been monitoring alien communications for 50 years. The terrible mathematics of war played out in her mind. Warning Luna Base might save some lives in the short term, but it would also tell the aliens that Earth had been watching and planning all along. The element of surprise that humanity had spent 5 decades building would be lost. What are your orders, Admiral? Commander Hayes asked quietly. Admiral Chen closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of her granddaughter's bright smile. When she opened them again, her expression was granite. We let it happen, and then we show them what happens when you murder human civilians. Captain Zethkar felt sick as his ship approached Luna Base. The lunar colony was beautiful in its own way, a testament to human engineering and ambition. Families had lived there for generations. It was a peaceful place that had never threatened anyone, but his orders were clear. Weapons powered and ready. Captain, his weapons officer reported. Target the main population centers, Zethkar said, hating every word. Make it quick. On Luna Base, Dr. Rebecca Santos was conducting her morning routine in the genetics laboratory. She had no idea that death was approaching from the darkness of space. Her team was working on a project to develop crops that could grow in lunar soil, research that might help feed the solar system's growing population. Dr. Santos, her assistant, called out, "I'm getting some strange readings on the deep space monitors." Rebecca walked over to check the displays. For 50 years, Luna Base had maintained its own watching posts, just like Earth. But unlike Earth, Luna Base wasn't protected by quantum dampening fields. They had to be more careful about what they transmitted. "Looks like increased alien ship activity," she said. "Probably just another intimidation display." Neither of them realized that the alien ships were targeting computers, calculating the most efficient way to destroy everything they had ever known. The attack began at exactly 1432 lunar time. Counselor Vextar watched the bombardment from his flagship, feeling a mixture of satisfaction and unease. Luna Base's shields, primitive force fields that were barely worth the name, collapsed under the first salvo of antimatter missiles. The explosions were visible from Earth, bright flashes of nuclear fire that lit up the lunar surface. Each flash represented thousands of lives ending in an instant. Broadcasting the attack on all frequencies, his communications officer reported. "Every human on Earth should be able to see this," Vextar nodded. This was psychological warfare at its finest. Show the humans what happened when they ignored the Council, and they would finally break their stubborn silence. Dr. Santos had 30 seconds to understand what was happening before the first missile struck her laboratory. The flash of antimatter annihilation was the last thing she saw. The mining complexes vanished in sheets of nuclear flame. The residential areas became glowing craters. The children's parks where young humans had laughed and played were now radioactive glass. In 18 minutes, Luna Base ceased to exist. On Earth, Admiral Chen watched every second of the destruction through classified observation satellites. Her command staff stood in shocked silence as 200,000 human lives ended before their eyes. "Admiral," Commander Hayes whispered. "Your orders?" Admiral Chen's voice was ice cold when she finally spoke. "Send the authorization code to all deep system commands. Operation Silent Thunder is now active." Throughout the solar system, messages flashed through quantum encrypted channels that the aliens had never detected. On hidden bases throughout the asteroid belt, skeleton crews activated massive shipyards that had been building in secret for 50 years. On the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, weapons platforms that had never appeared on any scan powered up their targeting systems. The most advanced human warships in history, built with technology that surpassed anything the Galactic Council had ever seen, began moving toward Earth. But first, Admiral Chen had a message to send. For 50 years, Earth had maintained perfect radio silence. Not a single transmission had escaped the planet's quantum dampening fields. The aliens had grown used to the silence, even frustrated by it. When every radio transmitter on Earth suddenly came online simultaneously, the burst of electromagnetic energy was like a solar flare. Captain Zethkar's communications officer nearly fell out of his chair when his systems exploded with activity. "Captain! We're receiving a transmission from Earth. All frequencies, maximum power." After 50 years of waiting, the humans were finally responding. Zethkar felt a mixture of triumph and relief as he activated the main screen. At last, Earth would surrender. They would beg for mercy and accept Council rule like every other world. The face that appeared on the screen was that of a middle-aged human woman in military uniform. Her expression was calm, professional, and absolutely terrifying. "Attention Galactic Council vessels," Admiral Chen said, her voice carrying to every alien ship in the solar system. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. Your recent actions constitute acts of war against human civilians. Under the Terran Defense Charter, you are hereby designated as hostile combatants." Zethkar blinked in confusion. This wasn't the desperate plea for mercy he had expected. Where was the fear? The acknowledgement of Council superiority? Admiral Chen continued. "You wanted our attention, Counselor Vextar. You have it. I'm sure you're wondering how we know your name, your ship's designation, and the exact number of vessels in your fleet. The answer is simple. We've been watching you since the day you arrived." On the Council flagship, Vextar felt the first flutter of unease. How did this human know his name? "For 50 years you've assumed our silence meant weakness," Admiral Chen said. "You were wrong. Our silence meant we were learning. Learning your languages, Your technology, your tactics, and most importantly, your weaknesses. The transmission paused for a moment, and when Admiral Chen spoke again, her voice carried the weight of inevitable judgment. You have one opportunity to leave our solar system immediately. Refuse and we will demonstrate exactly what 50 years of human development can accomplish. The transmission ended, leaving the alien fleet in stunned silence. For the first time in 50 years, the humans had spoken, and what they said promised a reckoning that would shake the galaxy. Captain Zethkar stared at the blank communication screen where Admiral Chen's face had been moments before. His bridge crew sat in stunned silence, trying to process what they had just heard. "Captain," his tactical officer called out, voice shaking. "Sir, you need to see this." The main display shifted to show the space around Earth. For 50 years it had looked mostly empty except for the Council's siege fleet. Now impossible shapes were materializing out of the darkness. Ships, hundreds of them. Where moments before his sensors had shown empty space, sleek human vessels now appeared on every scanner. They emerged from behind asteroids, decloaked from positions that should have been impossible to hide, and rose from what had seemed like dead moons. Where did they come from? Zethkar whispered. His science officer worked frantically at her controls. "Captain, I don't understand." "These ships weren't there a minute ago. It's like they appeared out of nowhere." But Zethkar was beginning to understand the horrible truth. The ships hadn't appeared from nowhere. They had been there all along, hidden by technology the Council didn't even know existed. On the bridge of the human flagship Terra's Shield, Admiral Chen watched her carefully planned revelation unfold. Around her, the command staff worked with calm efficiency, their actions guided by 50 years of preparation. "Admiral, all deep system fleets report ready for combat," Commander Hayes announced. "We have 2,300 vessels in position." "Alien reaction?" Admiral Chen asked. Shock and confusion across their entire fleet. "Several ships are trying to run active scans, but our stealth systems are still operational. They can only see what we want them to see." Admiral Chen nodded. The human fleet had been built using technology that was decades ahead of anything the Council possessed. While the aliens had relied on brute force and intimidation, humanity had developed quantum stealth fields, gravity manipulation drives, and weapons that could bypass any known defense system. "Open a channel to the alien flagship," she ordered. On the Council vessel Dominion's Fist, Counselor Vextar received Admiral Chen's transmission with growing dread. The human woman appeared on his screen again, but this time she was standing on the bridge of a ship that looked nothing like anything in the Council's databases. "Counselor Vextar," Admiral Chen said calmly, "I thought you might want to understand your situation before you make any decisions you'll regret." The display behind Admiral Chen showed a tactical overview of the solar system. Vextar's breath caught in his throat. As he saw the truth, his fleet of 300 vessels was completely surrounded by over 2,000 human ships. "Impossible," he whispered. "You're wondering how we built all this without you noticing," Admiral Chen continued. "The answer is simple. You were watching Earth while we industrialized the entire solar system." She gestured to the tactical display. "Those asteroids you've been ignoring? Hollow factories producing ships and weapons. The outer moons you thought were worthless rocks? Military bases with more firepower than your entire fleet." Admiral Chen's expression didn't change, but her voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. "You spent 50 years trying to intimidate one planet. We spent 50 years turning our solar system into the galaxy's most advanced fortress." Vextar finally found his voice. "You're bluffing. Primitive worlds don't develop technology this quickly." "Primitive?" Admiral Chen smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "Counselor, let me show you what primitive humans can accomplish when motivated." On her command, a single human destroyer demonstrated its capabilities. The ship appeared directly beside one of Vextar's cruisers, having moved faster than the alien sensors could track. Without warning, it fired a single shot. The alien cruiser's shields, rated to stop any weapon in the Council's arsenal, simply vanished. The ship itself remained untouched, but every system on board went dead. It drifted helplessly, its crew unharmed but their vessel completely disabled. "Quantum tunneling weapons," Admiral Chen explained. "They bypass shields by existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. One of our simpler innovations." Throughout the alien fleet, panic began to spread. Captain Zethkar's communications board lit up with desperate calls from other ships. Captain, this is Commander Therak. My ship has been disabled. Some kind of weapon that ignores our defenses. All vessels, this is Admiral Klexthor. We need immediate withdrawal to safe distance. But there was no safe distance. Human ships had appeared in every direction, at every range. The aliens were trapped in a cage of advanced technology they couldn't understand or counter. Vextar's tactical officer delivered the final blow to his commander's confidence. Sir, I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout the solar system. The humans have weapons platforms on dozens of moons and asteroids. If they all fired at once, he didn't need to finish. Vextar understood that his fleet could be destroyed in minutes. Admiral Chen watched the alien fleet's growing panic with cold satisfaction. Every calculation, every simulation, every war game had predicted this exact scenario. The aliens had walked into a trap 50 years in the making. Admiral, her weapons officer reported, all systems show ready. We can eliminate their entire fleet in approximately 4 minutes. Not yet, Admiral Chen replied. First, they need to understand exactly how outmatched they are. She opened another channel, this time broadcasting to every alien ship simultaneously. Attention, Council Fleet. You came here to demonstrate your power. Instead, you're about to learn what real power looks like. The demonstration began with the asteroid belt. Massive construction platforms that had been disguised as mining operations suddenly revealed their true nature. Each platform had the industrial capacity to produce dozens of warships per month. They had been doing exactly that for 50 years. These facilities have produced over 15,000 vessels, Admiral Chen announced. Most of our fleet is still under construction, but we thought 2,000 ships would be enough for today's lesson. Next, the weapons platforms revealed themselves. Every major moon in the solar system sprouted massive gun turrets and missile batteries. The aliens' own sensors showed them the impossible truth. Humanity had fortified their entire star system without anyone noticing. Each platform has enough firepower to destroy your largest dreadnoughts, Admiral Chen continued. We have 437 such platforms currently operational. But the final revelation was the most devastating. Throughout the solar system, what had appeared to be natural phenomena suddenly made sense. Unusual asteroid movements, strange energy readings, mysterious gravitational anomalies. All of it had been human activity on a scale the aliens couldn't comprehend. You thought you were observing one primitive planet, Admiral Chen said. In reality, you were watching the birth of a new galactic superpower. Captain Zethkar felt his world collapsing around him. How? He transmitted to Admiral Chen. How did you hide all this? Simple misdirection, she replied. You expected primitive broadcasts, so we gave you silence. You expected obvious military buildup, so we disguised our construction as mining operations. You expected to find us where you were looking, so we built where you weren't. The human admiral paused, letting the full scope of the deception sink in. Most importantly, you expected us to react with fear. Instead, we reacted with patience. Counselor Vextar realized that everything he thought he knew about these humans was wrong. They weren't primitive. They weren't weak. They weren't even the same species he had first encountered 50 years ago. What do you want? He finally asked. Admiral Chen's expression became businesslike. First, you will immediately withdraw from our solar system. Second, you will transmit a full confession to the Galactic Council admitting that you attacked and murdered 200,000 human civilians. Third, you will provide us with complete intelligence on Council military capabilities. And if we refuse, then we will demonstrate why patience is the most dangerous human trait of all. The alien fleet hung in space, surrounded by enemies they had never seen coming, facing weapons they couldn't counter, trapped by their own arrogance and humanity's careful planning. For 50 years, they had thought they were the hunters. Now they understood they had always been the prey. Counselor Vextar's response came exactly as Admiral Chen had predicted. Pride and arrogance won over common sense. The Galactic Council does not negotiate with primitive worlds, he transmitted, his voice shaking with rage. We will not be intimidated by parlor tricks and hidden ships. You will surrender immediately or face total annihilation. Admiral Chen sighed. 50 years of observation had taught humanity a lot about alien psychology. The Council's leaders would rather die than admit they had been outmaneuvered by a species they considered inferior. Very well, Counselor, she replied calmly. You've made your choice, she turned to her weapons officer. All ships, execute Battle Plan Omega. Show them what 50 years of human engineering can accomplish. The Battle of Sol began at 1547 Earth Standard Time and lasted exactly 6 hours and 14 minutes. Historians would later call it the most one-sided space battle in galactic history. Captain Zethkar watched in horror as his sensor displays filled with impossible readings. Human ships moved through space using technology that seemed to violate the laws of physics. They appeared and disappeared at will, struck from multiple dimensions simultaneously, and shrugged off every weapon the aliens could bring to bear. "Captain," his tactical officer screamed. "The Star Crusher is gone. Just gone. The humans hit it with something and it disintegrated." Zethkar looked at his fleet display. The Star Crusher had been one of the Council's most powerful dreadnoughts. Now it was a cloud of expanding debris. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked, dreading the answer. 47 vessels destroyed, 23 disabled. "Captain, we need to retreat." But retreat was impossible. Every escape route was blocked by human ships that moved faster than anything in the Council fleet. The aliens were trapped in a killing field of advanced technology and careful planning. Admiral Chen watched the battle unfold from her command center. Human casualties were exactly 0. Alien casualties were mounting rapidly. "Admiral," Commander Hayes reported, "the alien flagship is trying to ram the New Geneva." "Let them try," Admiral Chen replied. "The New Geneva has gravitational deflector shields. They'll bounce off like a rubber ball." Sure enough, Vexitar's massive flagship struck the human cruiser and simply slid off its defensive field, spinning helplessly through space. The impact didn't even register on the human ship's damage control systems. Dr. James Park, now Director of Human Weapons Development, had spent 50 years preparing for this moment. His latest creations were being tested in real combat for the first time, and they exceeded every expectation. "The quantum disruptors are working perfectly," he reported to Admiral Chen. "Alien ships hit by our main weapons simply cease to exist on a molecular level." "Casualties?" Admiral Chen asked. "0 on our side. We're being careful to disable rather than destroy when possible. About 60% of the alien fleet is now either destroyed or completely helpless." Admiral Chen nodded. The plan had always been to demonstrate overwhelming superiority, not to commit genocide. But the aliens had to understand that attacking human civilians came with consequences. On the bridge of the Dominion's fist, Counselor Vexitar finally understood what he was facing. These weren't the primitive humans he had expected to crush easily. These were apex predators who had spent 50 years evolving into the galaxy's most dangerous species. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving surrender requests from most of our fleet." Vexitar looked at his tactical display. Of his original 300 ships, less than 50 remained combat capable. The rest were either destroyed, disabled, or drifting helplessly with dead engines. "Admiral Chen," he transmitted on an open channel, I request terms for surrender." The human admiral's face appeared on his screen one final time. Her expression showed no triumph, no satisfaction, only cold professionalism. "Counselor Vexitar, your surrender is accepted. All surviving Council vessels will immediately power down weapons and prepare to be escorted out of our solar system. What about our damaged ships? Our wounded?" Admiral Chen's expression softened slightly. "Human medical teams are already en route to assist your casualties. Our ships will tow your damaged vessels to safe distance. We're not monsters, Counselor." The words hit Vexitar like a physical blow. After everything his fleet had done, after the murder of 200,000 human civilians, these people were still showing mercy to their enemies. As human rescue ships approached the alien vessels, Captain Zethkar received orders that confused him completely. The humans weren't taking prisoners or looting technology. They were providing medical aid and safe passage home. "Captain," his medical officer reported, "the human rescue teams are asking if we need doctors or medical supplies." They're trying to help us," Zethkar didn't understand. In 50 years of Council service, he had never seen a victorious force offer aid to defeated enemies. The Council's way was simple. Winners took everything. Losers got nothing. But these humans were different. Admiral Chen stood before the Global Defense Council as reports came in from around the solar system. The alien fleet was being escorted to the edge of human space under heavy guard, but with full medical and humanitarian support. "The galaxy is going to hear about this battle," President Martinez said. "What's our next step?" "We send a message," Admiral Chen replied. "Not through weapons or threats, but through our actions. The galaxy needs to see that humans are strong enough to defend ourselves, but wise enough to show mercy. She activated the main communication system, broadcasting on frequencies that would reach every inhabited world in the galaxy. People of the galaxy, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. Today, the Galactic Council attacked and murdered 200,000 human civilians in an unprovoked assault on our Luna base colony. The transmission continued, describing the 50-year standoff and its violent conclusion. But Admiral Chen's focus wasn't on human victory. It was on what came next. Humanity formally announces our presence as a galactic civilization. We invite peaceful contact with all species who approach us with respect and honest intentions. We offer our protection to any world threatened by those who would rule through fear and violence. The message concluded with words that would reshape galactic politics. The age of council dominance through intimidation is over. The age of cooperation and mutual respect begins now. 3 weeks later, the first alien ship approached Earth under a flag of truce. It wasn't from the Council, but from a small world that had been oppressed by the Council for decades. They were followed by others, species that had been too afraid to resist Council rule until humanity showed them it was possible. Captain Zethkar, now retired from Council service, worked as a translator for these new diplomatic missions. His understanding of both human and alien perspectives made him invaluable in building bridges between species. The Council will not give up easily, he warned Admiral Chen during one of their meetings. They have hundreds of worlds under their control. We know, Admiral Chen replied. That's why we're building alliances instead of conquering territory. The Council rules through fear. We'll offer something better, partnership. She gestured to the display showing dozens of alien ships approaching Earth peacefully. Every world that joins us makes the Council weaker. Eventually, they'll have to choose between changing their ways or becoming irrelevant. As the months passed, that prediction proved accurate. World after world broke free from Council control. Often with quiet human support, the galaxy's balance of power shifted not through conquest but through example. The Galactic Council still existed, but they were no longer the unchallenged rulers of the galaxy. Humanity had shown that patience, preparation, and moral strength could triumph over brute force and intimidation, and it had all started with 50 years of silence. In her final report, Admiral Chen wrote, "The greatest victory is not the one that destroys your enemy, but the one that makes them unnecessary. Today we didn't just defeat the Council. We offered the galaxy something better. Earth was no longer silent, and the galaxy would never be the same."